he's going to have more of an impact than Derrick Rose had, Yao Ming, Kwame Brown. The last 10 #1 picks, this guy's going to put himself right up there in elite company his first year in the league next season.
He has 14 assists. That ties his season high and therefore career high. He's 1 assist away from tying the Kentucky single game record held by Travis Ford. Now obviously the coach at Oklahoma State. Wall is fouled on the way to the hoop this time. And he can dunk it down too.
Well, he's a great athlete. He's really closer to 6'4" than he is 6'3". And again, he has that speed with and without the basketball that is special. And there are the last 10 #1 picks. And again, I think outside of LeBron James and Dwight Howard, this guy will have the greatest impact his rookie season of any of those other #1 picks.
Cousins finishes with the right, 19 in the game for DeMarcus Cousins, along with 12 rebounds. Another double-double for John Wall's fellow freshman, DeMarcus Cousins, the third of that great group of freshmen. Eric Bledsoe sitting out tonight with an ankle problem. He did play 30 minutes in their last game against Long Beach, but Kentucky not using him tonight. As Joe Zaglinski gets the lay-in off the miss. Second chance bucket for Zaglinski. He has 15 to lead all Hartford scores.
And Kentucky will really need Bledsoe on Saturday. That's an injury that Rick Pitino, if Bledsoe's not playing, can really try to hurt and expose Kentucky with a lot of pressure and extending the press in that ball game, because Kentucky still, their DNA all season long, Carter, has been turning the basketball over too much. And you know Louisville is going to try to capitalize on it, especially if a kid like Bledsoe is not on that floor.
Wall had 7 versus North Carolina, 7 versus UConn. That's been the one knock on his game, especially now that he's turned up the defensive intensity. Milton Burton, the junior from Birmingham, Alabama, floats the right hand in.
Hartford will actually host the America East Conference Tournament for the first time in school history in March. So that's a big plus for their program, and all this game is about is guaranteed money, the experience of playing Rupp Arena. Again, they're playing in front of the largest crowd tonight when you compare it to the combined total all season long.
John Wall is adding to his highlight tape exponentially tonight. Have you been around a player in college basketball that makes you say, wow, as much as John Wall does?
Not as much, but Derrick Rose did when I watched him. From the very first practice on that campus, I was there at Memphis when Derrick Rose came out of the locker room that day. Within the first 30 minutes, he made me say wow a couple of times. There were NBA scouts in the building that day as well, but not as consistently as John Wall does.
Patterson on the post, out the feed from Ramon Harris. There's wholesale changes coming for Kentucky on the next dead ball. The question will be, does John Wall get a chance to equal the Kentucky single game assist record held by Travis Ford? He's sitting on 14 right now. Travis Ford's record is 15. Happened back in 1993.
The all-time NCAA single game assist total is 22. If John Wall played the remaining 11:09 in this ball game, which he's not, he would have a chance to set that all-time mark. He's special. He's a special individual. He's a special teammate. Do not pass him up as a #1 pick.
Well, they're supporting their Wildcats, but that's a bad case of hair pieces. With Kentucky up 44 on Hartford, as John Wall continues to put on a show tonight at Rupp Arena.
Well, the game's really easy for him right now. Hartford doesn't have the bodies. The first bump on John Wall doesn't knock him off of his path. And he has a speed that really you don't bump him very often because you can't catch what you can't see. He has that type of a burst about him. But his ability to see the floor and spread the wealth doesn't change expressions a lot. You've seen a little bit of his personality tonight. But he is a great listener. And I go back to what Patrick Patterson, both of them in the picture right there on the bench right now, told me before the season began. I asked Patrick Patterson about what's the key to being a great leader for this team. His response was, I have to be the best listener. And today in the shoot-around, Patrick Patterson was the best listener for an hour and a half under John Calipari. And I thought John Wall was the second best listener. So they get it in all those areas. You want to be a leader for your team, be the best listener. That's the best place to start.
You know, and so much attention being paid to John Wall, deservedly so, but Patrick Patterson having a great junior season, and he's kind of in that role. It's become a familiar one to him. He played high school basketball with O.J. Mayo, here at Kentucky with guys like Jody Meeks, who got the headlines, while Patrick Patterson just continued to toil. He's now in his junior year. He could have left after his sophomore year, but he's excelled in John Calipari's offensive system, and he has been a great leader for the Kentucky Wildcats on their way now on the verge of 14-0.
Patterson taking one class right now during the winter session, and then will take 18 semester hours in the spring to get his degree. So he's going to graduate in 3 years. And boy, that brings up some great conversation. Think about this. Patrick Patterson will be taking 18 hours in the spring semester when it begins. There are some guys in the past that are the one-and-done type athletes that all they have to do is go to class the first semester, make sure they're eligible for the second semester, and they don't even have to go to class the second semester. Now, how fair is that for a guy to be taking 18 hours like Patrick Patterson and someone else to not really have to take any hours officially? You can be enrolled but not go to class. That's why the rule needs to be changed in some form or fashion.
Well, Patterson is on pace to get his degree in 3 years, no matter what happens in his basketball career at Kentucky or beyond.
You know, as I start looking around the landscape, possible national players of the year, it's always decided with me when conference play begins. It's too early to start talking about this guy as the leader for national player of the year. Patrick Patterson could factor into that conversation, but certainly John Wall could play his way in to not only the freshman of the year, but the national player of the year. If this big blue train keeps rolling down the tracks and he continues to put up that 18 points a game and 7 or 8 assists and do everything that he does, he could factor right in there with Damian James from Texas, Luke Herringody, Notre Dame. John Shire at Duke is having one of those type years. Evan Turner when he comes back to Ohio State. A lot of different names floating around, and will all play out in conference play.
Wildcats have hit 11 in a row. That triple from Dodson makes it 13 threes in the game. Dodson has 6 made threes. That's a new career high for the sophomore Darnell Dodson. After a 1-for-6 shooting game against Long Beach State, Milton Burton answers with a 3 for Hartford.
Because Hartford is a small team, this is the third kid this season that has had a career night from the three-point line against Hartford. If you play a zone like Hartford has in this ball game or in your man, it is hard to recover the shooters when you lack size.
Harry Stevenson makes it 12 straight made baskets for Kentucky. Hartford plays in the America East Conference. Boston University, Patrick Chambers' team is favored to win the America East as Milton Burton hits another 3. A couple of years ago, school record 18 wins for Hartford. Made it all the way to the America East Championship game in the tournament. Last year, Joe Zaglinski goes down in early December with an ankle injury. They lose 26 games. This will be their 8th consecutive loss. It will be their 10th loss of the season. But those 3 days at the end of the regular season, what it's all about for a school in the America East Conference, if Hartford can improve through games like this, through the conference season, then as you mentioned, they host the America East Conference tournament on their floor. John Wall checking back into the game for Kentucky with a chance to break the single game assist record for University of Kentucky basketball. Gophers coached by the last man to win a national championship here at Kentucky, Tubby Smith. As we welcome you back to the SEC on ESPN from Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky, where the Kentucky Wildcats are on the verge of win number 2002 in program history. Win number 14 of the season. It would be a 14-0 start for the first time since 1978, a year that Kentucky won the national championship.
A lot of comparisons with John Wall to Tyreek Evans and Derrick Rose. I think it's a mistake for all of us to think that those guys were just great talents and elite level players for 1 year under John Calipari. He made all three of those guys, and Wall is the third, better from the time they stepped on campus at Memphis or here at Kentucky to when they finished their playing career. John Calipari has had the ability to prod, motivate, teach, challenge all three of those guys. John Wall is better now than he was on October 15th or the 16th in their Big Blue Madness. Derrick Rose got better the entire year. Tyreek Evans got better under Calipari. He just has that ability to know when to push, when to pull back, when to push again, and when to pull back. And he's done a great job with John Wall in that area so far this year.
Milton Burton continues to knock him down for the Hartford Hawks. He has 16. That is 11 in the second half from Milton Burton, the junior from Birmingham, who had 14 second half points against Baylor, so he's making a habit out of it. Wall creates, Dodson puts it on the deck, so no assist on this possession for Kentucky. An air ball shot by John Hood.
You know, the other thing that I think is interesting about John Wall, he and Rose and Evans, Cal told us today that you could tell them something about the game one time and they got it. They got a very high IQ and an understanding and a feel and a knowledge of how to play the game of basketball. And that's an unusual characteristic for a true freshman, for a coach to be able to say, look, this is what's going on and this is what I want, and they've got it like a sponge and it doesn't leave them. That's what Wall, another area that I think he's just a special young man.
And on that, Harrelson made basket. John Wall has 15 assists. That ties the University of Kentucky record set by Travis Ford versus Eastern Kentucky on December 8th, 1993. Wall with 15 assists. That is a season high in the NCAA this year, and it ties the Kentucky single-game record. And now Wall will bring it up one more time, and John Wall will have the Kentucky record, one of likely a few that he will end up with in his freshman season at the University of Kentucky.
He's only 7 shy from the all-time mark of 22 in college basketball. If I know Travis Ford, like I think I know Travis Ford, he's probably getting lit up right now with the text messages, and he's hoping John Wall doesn't get another assist. That's a fiery dude, man, that's awful proud of what he accomplished at Kentucky.
The hand is from Mark Krebs, the senior from Newport, Kentucky, who goes to the scorer's table awaiting the next whistle, ready to check in for Kentucky. And if it's checking in for John Wall, there will be a larger ovation. Burton now has 18 as he continues to play hard. Stevenson for 2, and there is the Kentucky single-game record. John Wall with 16 assists tonight. That is a Kentucky single-game record and the most by any player in the NCAA this year.
He has been on time and on target, hasn't he, with his passes? And you go back and look at every one of those assists. They've either been right in the shot pocket or right at the side of the rim where it's an easy catch and finish. You don't rack up the all-time best assists in a single game this year without being precise with your passing.
And he will get a standing ovation from the Kentucky fans here at Rupp Arena as he checks out, setting the University of Kentucky single-game assist mark with 16 tonight to go along with 9 points. Bettering the mark set by Travis Ford versus Eastern Kentucky in 1993.
That right there tells me a lot. You see what John Wall did when he came out of the game? He went down and shook everybody's hand, but he didn't stop with the players. He went on down to the graduate assistants and the student managers. Again, he gets it. That's a great teammate. That's a guy that's special, but doesn't want to act like he's special.
And now it's DeMarcus Cousins leading the cheers from the Kentucky fans of John Wall, John Wall. It's DeMarcus wrapping his arm around his teammate on the Kentucky bench, trying to get everybody to cheer for John Wall. Krebs, the former walk-on, now on scholarship by John Calipari, is who the Kentucky fans are cheering for now. Burton misses, follow will go for Kevin Estes, the junior out of Richmond, Virginia.
This game will be gone over pretty quickly with that Kentucky staff in the film session. They will pull out plays and say, this is great. They will also pull out plays that says, if this is good enough to beat Hartford, it's not good enough when a team like Louisville comes strolling in here on Saturday. Kentucky had a lot of good moments in this ball game. They had some breakdowns, which is going to happen when you're hammering someone like they are in the second half. An entirely different feel when Rick Pitino and the Cards come strolling in here Saturday afternoon.
Assist number 16 for John Wall tonight comes on this basket, giving him the University of Kentucky single-game record with 16 assists. A well-deserved round of applause for the super freshman from Raleigh, John Wall.
Wow.
As the Red Raiders turn. 97-61 here, Kentucky leading Hartford. 3:04 to go before the break. To go before the end of the ball game, I should say. No excuses tonight from the Kentucky Wildcats to Coach John Calipari.
When Kentucky breaks down film and John Calipari brings them in the film room, he actually has this up on the board. And if you get called out and, you know, like, hey, I didn't block out, you can say, Coach, that was a number 1 and a number 4. Well, what does that mean? Number 1, you're telling the coach, I got held, and also I was having a bad day with my girlfriend. So he has all these excuses written on a board during a film session, knowing that none of them are acceptable, but guys are going to throw them up there. And I think that's another creative way for Calipari to motivate his kids, communicate with his kids, but the bottom line, you're either getting it done or you're not.
Huge ovation for Mark Krebs as he hits the 3. That's the first made bucket of Krebs' senior season. It has been a long journey for Mark Krebs and his family. Too long to get into now, but the former walk-on player for the University of Kentucky knocks down the 3, and that's the first made bucket of his senior season. Kentucky goes over 100 points for the 3rd time this season. Jimmy, they're going to go to 14-0. What's the most impressive thing you've seen from Kentucky tonight and seen from Kentucky so far this season?
Well, just their progression defensively. You know, the first 2 or 3 weeks of game time, they weren't committed defensively and rebounding. Their 3-point shooting continues to get better. Obviously, they have an All-American in John Wall and Patrick Patterson. They can play with anyone in the country on a neutral floor. That's a good sign come March.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by your Lincoln Mercury dealer, bringing you the latest in luxury and technology.
Capital One Bowl Week continues on ESPN tomorrow with 2 games. First at 4:30 Eastern, the Bowling Green Eagles, led by Freddie Barnes, on the verge of the NCAA record for receptions in a season, taking on a resurgent Idaho team in the Rhodey's Humanitarian Bowl. Then at 8 Eastern, Arizona faces Indomitian Sioux and the Nebraska Cornhuskers in the Pacific Life Holiday Bowl. Capital One Bowl Week on ESPN and ESPN360.com tomorrow. Carter Blackburn with Jimmy Dykes from Rupp Arena, where Kentucky is on the way to 14-0 for the first time since 1978. They've hit the century mark for the 3rd time this season, and John Wall has set the single-game record for assists in a game by a Kentucky Wildcat with 16. New Year's Eve night, Travis Pastrana will jump his rally car off the Pine Street Pier, Jimmy, onto a floating barge anchored in Long Beach's Rainbow Harbor, aiming to shatter the existing mark of 171 feet, establish a new world distance record for the longest distance jump in a rally car, and it's live on ESPN. Red Bull New Year, No Limits on ESPN Thursday night at 11 Eastern.
I know now what I'm going to do when I get home from Tennessee at Memphis on New Year's Eve.
There's no limits. Just drink a Red Bull on your way home from Memphis.
So he's going to drive a car off of a bridge and land on a barge. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, rally car, too.
A rally car off of a bridge
yeah,
and land
Long
on a barge.
Beach, 171 feet. He's
All
attempting
right.
to break the record, landing on a barge. So we've seen an impressive performance from John Wall tonight. Maybe
there's a bucket list for you.
New Year's Eve.
Right? Is that on your bucket list?
Well, it's one way to kick the bucket if you were looking to do that.
You're concerned if you're a Kentucky fan, a young team, are they going to continue to listen and do everything that John Calipari wants them to do? So far, all the signs pointing that direction. I thought Cal was very direct when I asked him today, do you think this is a club that needs to lose a game? He said, no, not at all. If our swagger becomes an arrogance, then yes. If we get to a point where we're stuck and we're not getting better and a loss is what we need to grab our attention and get us back to working hard, then yes. But there's nothing wrong with continuing that momentum and win after win after win and piling up a great resume for a top seed. And this is a guy that's had to do it at Memphis. He had to do it at UMass. He understands the number of wins and those #1 seeds are hard to get. And I agree with him. No reason to lose a game just to lose a game.
Coming up next, Penn State versus Minnesota. So John Calipari not subscribing to the Jim Caldwell theory about remaining undefeated. Harrelson misses the dunk. Hartford brings it back. This is Charles White, the freshman from Philly. Missing. Shot clock is turned off, so now it's just the game clock rolling under 30 seconds as Kentucky rolls to win number 14 on the season, win number 2002 in program history.
I want to ask you a question. You saw John Wall for the first time in person. Which do you think is faster, John Wall, rim to rim, or the handshake that will take place between Rick Pitino and John Calipari prior to the game on Saturday? Which is faster?
Oh, if you blink, you might miss both.
That will be must-see TV, and it's on now. Preparation for Louisville begins.
John Wall's 16 assists tonight to set the Kentucky single-game record. And the Kentucky Wildcats rolled a 14-0 with a 104-61 win over Hartford. For Jimmy Dykes, I'm Carter Blackburn. For more on this game, turn to ESPN News for a post-game extra. Coming up next, it's Penn State versus Minnesota. Kentucky wins it 104-61 over Hartford to go to 14-0 as John Wall with 16 assists sets the Kentucky single-game record. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Now we send you back to the studio.
Looking for an earpiece.
The Kentucky Office of Highway Safety reminds everyone to buckle up and drive smart, Kentucky.
How you doing? Wish you could pass me the ball. Even I could score playing with you. You know, you set a school record.
Let me have the 2 shot. All right, I'll take the 1.
Here you go. Okay. Which ear you want, Jimmy?
All right.
16 assists, right? Hello. Let me get on the other side, John. What's this for, Sully?
Switch.